Feels good to just breathe, might I say. What's up, everyone? My name is Morcie, and if you're new to this channel, I encourage others to experience the joy of just being, to live with effortless ease. And all that means is to take a step back, bring in some awareness, so you give yourself the opportunity for a simple next step. In today's video, I would like to update my how to observe thought video. I created that video almost 2 years ago, maybe 1.5 years ago. And since then, my practice has become more powerful. And also, you know, there's a difference between doing something and teaching it. So I realized through getting lots of questions, I have been able to find clearer, more detailed and descriptive ways to help you understand how to observe thought and how it will not only benefit, you know, your mind, but just also your perception of the world, where you're finding yourself less reactive to uncertainty, less reactive to just things that may usually trigger you or knock you off your feet a bit, metaphorically, or maybe even not metaphorically, but it'll allow you to be more observant within your life, observant within the outside world, and was observant within yourself. And I'll also be answering some questions, actual questions that I got from some subscribers and some people who had some questions about observing thought. So I want you to, one thing I really want you to take away from this video, if you take away nothing else, take this home with you. When it comes to observing thought, the intention is to observe thoughts fade away. To observe thoughts fade away. When you observe thought, there's no story. You're not judging it. You're not saying that's a good thought, that's a bad thought. There's none of it. You're noticing it. You're attentive to it, but you're not internalizing it, personalizing it, making a part of who you are. You're just observing it. And when you do that, the thought naturally fades away. This is because you're not giving it the energy that it wants. Think of thoughts as an entity. An entity, it's separate, this independent thing. Just independent of you, right? Because we're not our thoughts, but thoughts flow through our mental field. You know, you could think of intrusive thoughts too, right? Those thoughts that you're just like, why am I thinking this? I don't really believe it, but why am I thinking this? I don't mean it, right? Intrusive thoughts. Thoughts are not our own. So they flow through our mental field. And when you take that thought and you believe it, you take it as your own. Like, let's say you have an intrusive thought and you make that a part of you, saying, oh my gosh, am I a bad person for having that thought? And now you start overthinking. You start resonating at the frequency of that thought unconsciously, just unconsciously choosing to be something that you are not. So you're feeding it, you're giving this entity energy. So when you think of thoughts as this separate entity, realize that it wants to live just like any other life form on this planet. It wants to stay alive. So when we overthink and we continue to have that same thought, it stays in your mind because you are unconsciously feeding it. But what observing thought does is allows you to be aware of it. Now you are conscious. Now you can make a conscious decision as to what you want to spend your time, your energy, your focus on. Because wherever you put your energy, wherever you put your attention and your focus, it multiplies. And that's the beauty, right, of observing thought. Now, what comes with the thought is a corresponding feeling and emotion. Energy and motion comes with the thought. It matches it. There's this a thought and feeling cycle, right? So first we have this thought, and what matches it is this corresponding feeling. Feelings are another form of thought, but within the body. And then eventually, if we continue to have that same thought, what sometimes happens is that that feeling, when it comes up first, you immediately have that thought just from that feeling. So it becomes this cycle, this unconscious cycle. Now remember, observing thought, right? The really good takeaway is that you are bringing yourself to conscious awareness of what is happening to you, so you can make conscious decisions instead of unconscious decisions, right? Expanding your awareness. So when you have this feeling within you, observe it too and watch it fade away just like you would a thought. What happens when you observe the thought fades away, and you might still feel that feeling. But don't give that feeling a story. Don't internalize it, because it just intensifies. It feeds off of that. What you're gonna do is allow it to be there and watch it. And what happens is it turns into this sensation, just this sensation. That's all. No meaning, just a feeling. And eventually that sensation subsides. It goes away. Now you might ask, why aren't feelings and emotions, don't they tell us things? Don't they send us signals so that we're aware of something? 100% they do. They're a tool. We use them. But it's important that we use these tools consciously. And so by bringing in space, observing thought, and observing feeling, what you're doing is giving yourself a new perspective of the present moment. You're placing in space, so now you can make a next simple step. Now you can find the bigger picture of your life situation instead of constantly reacting. This is something that you do every day. It's not something you do once and then you say, oh, I got it, I'm done. No. I've been, like I said, the first time I created this video was almost 2 years ago, and I'm still doing it every day. I don't expect for there to be this end to my transformation, but I realize that the more I do it each and every day, the more at peace I feel with myself, with other people, with the world around me. No matter what's happening in this world, I recognize that the control, it's all within me. My perspective, it's all within me. Thoughts, they only have the power that you give them. People, events in this world only have the power that you give them. Notice how just from this simple practice of observing thought, notice how it mirrors into your world. Remember, thoughts are a tool. Don't let them use you. You use it. You use it to manifest. That's another question that I asked, that I received. Thoughts and affirmations and manifestation, right? We can consciously create our reality, or we can unconsciously create our reality, right? And through observing thought, you allow yourself to consciously create the world that you live in, your world, what you experience. You don't have control over anyone else's world or anyone else's reaction to their world. You only have control over yours, right? Now, when it comes to affirmations and intention, realize that those are conscious. You are consciously implementing this idea in your mind so you can be that, so you can feel that. When it comes to manifestation, the most powerful way to manifest is to make it feel alive within you. Know it's yours. You don't need to believe. Believe there's doubt. It's no. You know it. You feel it. Why? Because it lives within you, radiating within you. That flame is within you. And so when it manifests, you're not even surprised. You're like, psh, I've been living with this feeling for months, weeks, days, whatever it might be, and now it's here. I'm not surprised, but I'm grateful. Thank you. So when it comes to observing thought, right, instead of unconsciously believing the thoughts that flow through your mental field, and these thoughts come from everywhere. If you know what I mean when it comes to observing thought, there's music, television, the news, all these ways in which ideas are unconsciously coming to our mind. And if we're not aware and we don't say, hey, that's not me and I don't want that to be a part of my state of being, so boom, if we're not aware of that, then we become that thought unconsciously. If you're not aware of that thought, then you become it. But you can choose what thoughts you would like to become, right? Thoughts are a tool. Remember, we aren't our thoughts, but we use them as tools. We're far beyond that. This is when it comes to experiencing the joy of being. Realizing that and finding out who is experiencing that thought, who is experiencing that your life situation, that experience, who, that is your journey for you. And observing your thought, observing thought is a part of that journey. And notice how I almost said your thoughts. I'm trying to shift that language within myself so that I can recognize that thoughts are not my own. So instead of referring to thoughts as my thoughts or your thoughts, what I want to do is consciously change the way I change my relationship with thought, calling it what it is, a separate entity, rather than it being a part of me. It's more like a tool. Another question or comment that I receive is, I'm sick of my mind. I'm sick of this. I've been there too. But I want you to recognize that it's not your mind that you're sick of. You're sick of unconsciously attaching to thought. The mind is just this space where thoughts flow through it. You can choose to have a clear mind by becoming aware of it, becoming more present, not judging the thought, giving it a story, personalizing it, but being aware of it and having it fade away. And now your mind is clear. It's not your mind that you're sick of. It's the act of unconsciously attaching to thought. So remember that next time, because when I do that to myself, I bring myself back to presence. I actually become more accountable for my actions and I begin to be more aware. I realize, look at how much control I have over myself, recognize my state of being, how natural I flow with the world, not trying to control outcomes, but accepting the outcome. Not always looking for a familiar outcome, but being open to a different outcome where I can also be in a state of presence, a state of awareness. Awareness is everything. Awareness is your greatest protection. And I got that quote from Eckhart Tolle. I want to mention to you all that Eckhart Tolle is my inspiration for observing thought. So much of what I learned has come from the teachings of Eckhart Tolle, as well as other very amazing teachers out there. But what I like to do is use the inspiration for me and share it with others, share it for all of us, right? Information, it multiplies. When we share things and through information, they multiply. So remember, choose to live in a state of gratitude. And what I'm starting to do with my videos is encouraging you all to write down a question that you have, right? My intention is to be as clear and as possible. So if there's a question that you have about observing thought, go ahead and comment down below in the comment section, and I will choose one question, a question that I have not answered before, or a question that I feel that I can probably answer it in a more detailed way for you to understand. But I will choose one question and I will answer it in the next video. Today, I'm going to answer a question from a video, my most recent video about uncertainty and being okay with the certain 3 words. So if you haven't watched that, go ahead and click on the link right here. But this next question is from Zach La Rochelle. I actually answered him in the comment section, but I want to answer again through video because I know many of you may possibly have the same question. Zach La Rochelle said, "Sometimes I feel like I don't know what to do when certain situations need an action or decision. In those spots, should I just become present and have faith whatever comes to me is meant to be? Or should I try things out logically?" It's important that when it comes to the present moment, right? You aren't trying to find a conclusion beforehand, but you are allowing yourself to open up to an unfamiliar outcome, and without judgment, without judging good or bad, but you're allowing yourself to open up to something that's unfamiliar. And when it comes to uncertainty, right, it can feel a bit uncomfortable. But when it comes to situations like this, the present moment is always going to call for something different. You might immediately know something based on the past, using logic and remembering, oh, something like this happened in the past, so I'm going to make sure I don't repeat it. Or you might want to bring in a little awareness or space and say, maybe 1, you've experienced in the past, but you didn't like the last outcome, so you want to change it. Or 2, you have no idea what to do, right? And you want to figure out something new. What I will always say is, no matter what, bring in awareness, bring in space, and allow yourself to receive that. Allow yourself to be there, and don't be afraid of making a wrong decision. The idea of wrong decisions, wrong choices, it's gonna stop our growth. Nobody grows in a linear motion, a linear direction. It's always a little bit rocky. We go forward and we go back, but nonetheless, we're learning. We're learning through awareness, and we're learning through our mistakes. So my response to this question is to sit back, bring in some awareness, honor that the present moment will always call for something different, and don't be afraid to just make a decision and see what happens, right? This world isn't as real as we think it is. Have fun. Don't take life so seriously. We live in a dream experience. Live in a state of gratitude, everyone. My name is Morcie. Until next time, peace.